But we're going to move towards the pick'ems now. Prof, are we going to do this? We'll just get Right's pick'ems and we'll talk through his stuff, or we'll do everyone's.
However we want to do it, we can combine or just like throw ideas around. However it works. I guess Lucas already brought it up, so it's there. So we just need to say what we want selected.
Yeah, fuck it. Let's get Chris's, because Chris can talk us through the reasons, right? Maybe he's practiced against G2 and he thinks they're looking hot or some shit. So we'll just start with all the teams who are going to qualify. We'll leave the 0-3s and the 3-0s until the very end. So Chris, who would you be kicking off in the number one spot to be coming through here for your pick'ems?
Force?
Yeah, you'd be having
number one.
All right.
I have them as number one.
Like, would you have them 3-0 or just the team going through?
No, they're going through.
Okay, change that, Lucas. I know it's your birthday tomorrow, mate, but you got to get these things right. All right. So...
I also heard they're doing pretty sick in practice. Like them and Crazy, I think, like the two underdog kind of semi on the border team that are kind of destroying people in practice. I don't know if that's something that can be confirmed, but I guess Get Right's pick speaks for itself.
Yeah, why Get Right? Why do you think Force?
I believe because of the last couple of months how they've been performing, and I feel in general as a player and so on, I feel very, I don't know, surprised every time I see an official game with them. You know, like I see a raw potential there that I haven't seen since maybe Furia came back or came up to the scene, you know? And everyone is... I'd rather take a gamble if I'm gonna do this, and I'd rather be, you know, going with what I believe in as a person, as a player, when I do things like this, you know?
Sure.
So you want to do the hipster picks so you can kind of flaunt it and say you're wrong. I mean, if you pick all of the favorites, no one's going to be excited about that, so it doesn't
But the thing
sense.
is, like, if you look at the set of teams,
It's
it
still
is
a good
pretty
pick.
like this is a solid pick, honestly. Like they at this point, I feel like they are kind of even like within that top 8 favorite to make it through, or like at least like on the edge of making it through. So this is not such like an extremely surprising pick to me. It's just like obvious that there are obvious other teams to pick, given that we have like several top 10 teams in that qualifier. So that's just it.
All right,
It feels like it's pretty split like down the line. Like the top and bottom half are pretty far away from each other. I feel like, or like
It's not as
more
blurry,
or less
right?
top and bottom half.
Yeah, it doesn't feel as blurry. Who's the best player on fours, you reckon, Chris, that you practice against? Who's the one that stands out?
I mean, they're always using fake names. I can't remember.
Okay.
Like
What was it? Okay.
But this their Opper.
Exy Power.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kid's a fucking monster.
But I mean, I just went in to see us because I already did my pick'em, so I'm just looking through and seeing how it looks like.
All
I think mine is kind of interesting in a way because a lot of people would be agreeing and some people wouldn't agree to it at all.
All right, talk us through your next pick then.
I mean, Vitality, safe choice. It feels
Yeah, that
like.
one's a safe one.
G2,
that's
same.
for sure.
I mean, those two teams, I don't feel like I really need to discuss anything. I mean, everyone knows how good they are, you know, like that. But I'd rather put them on the safe spot instead of going like 3-0 because you never know, you know. So I'd rather put them there, you know.
Yeah, sure.
I'll put North in there.
So you haven't given up on the Danes. What do you think? Here's a question, like, with all these different iterations of North we've seen over the last year and a half, what do you think their biggest problem has been? Because there's so much potential in that roster. There's so much star power.
I think that it was just mismatch, if you ask me. The players regarding who's playing in it and whatnot. All players have always been so well in that team, but it just feels like it's something missing, you know. And right now I feel that Volley is doing great work, and I think that they should have qualified earlier instead of going into that last chance qualifier at the minor. But, you know, I'm used to that. I'm part of that team that usually likes to take the hard road.
You like the pressure, Chris.
Exactly. But I'm seeing them as a team that goes through. I wouldn't be... I think 3-1, to be honest, if I'm gonna go like to give a score at least.
Okay.
But of course it all depends on the bracket and whatnot and so on.
there's a couple more safe, or maybe not a couple. There's one or two more safe names in there.
I mean, I put Furia as next one. That I would put in directly.
I feel like that one's the most like up in the air for me, like out of the top 8, I guess, that you would normally pick, like from Vitality Energy, G2, Mao's North. At least those 6 teams, like that's the most up in the air for me. Because by what they've done lately, after ECS and what am I thinking of? Second one, Dallas. They haven't really looked the same, so I feel like that's going to be interesting to see if they recover from that and actually deliver on the major.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I'm not really sure on them at the moment, like you are, or like what you're saying. It feels like the same there, but I feel like I'd rather take a gamble on them. But I think it's just because
The thing is, it's not even a gamble because of the bottom teams. I feel like there's just it's so hard to pick from the bottom who could surprise. Maybe like 1 or 2 teams there.
Yeah.
But it's still,
I mean,
I think.
True. I mean, everyone would probably put Energy as well there. No matter what. I expect them to go through. Like, I don't really have anything to say regarding that team. I mean, I haven't practiced against them as well, so I don't know anything. How is that going or whatnot? So I don't have a feeling,
I've been having a look. Like, obviously they're just prac results, right? I still have some of these people on Steam Friends, and some of the stuff is FPL games. Some of the stuff is like prac matches between teams, and I can see like what maps they're playing and whatever. None of their results look like blowouts, but I'm also not monitoring Tarek's Steam 24 hours a day. So that's another thing. And then I guess this is the one that I'm a bit curious of. Mouse Sports, you haven't selected yet. Are they in your mix?
We'll see.
Oh dear. Okay. Who's the last team then?
Avangar.
Oh.
Really? I don't want to be that guy, but they've looked fucking trash recently.
Well, I have to support my brother from another mother, Adrian. That's why I put him in there. I believe in him at the end of the day.
I definitely think there is a chance, and their first match is against Complexity, who is also not the strongest team in this qualifier, and from the teams that they could get, not that bad. But as Sponge says, their recent results have not been that good. So I'm not that confident, definitely.
In the qualifier on the 11th, they won all of their... Well, no, they didn't. They lost a win streak. Never mind. Cancel that. Anyway, that was a good one. All right, Chris, who got 0-3?
I mean, in the end of the day, like, if I can stay or wait a little bit before giving that team, it's just like I'm still not settled with these kind of teams below at those 7 teams. I mean, this is what I did when the pick'em was released, and I think I did it even on my stream.
Oh, now you've seen the matchups and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, of course. I mean, this is what I did before the matchups was going out. So I have no idea. I haven't even looked. Actually, I haven't even looked at the matchups yet. So I probably should do that before actually doing the pick'em. But this is just what I want to do with my own gut feeling and what I know and so on. And this is what I will probably pick. But in the same time, it can change. Maybe in 2 days I will feel like not maybe this team, maybe put in another team or whatnot. But I'm pretty sure I'm gonna stick with it at least.
Out of these, I personally would be like somewhat. I already talked about Furia, up in the air. Avangar, obviously, they are like one of those maybes that could show up and make it to the major, but like probably on the edge. They're not going to be confident, I don't think. And then obviously you have Mouse Sports, as a potential replacement for one of those teams, or maybe even Crazy because they've been looking pretty good. So those 2 teams specifically should probably be in contention at least.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to see Crazy's games, and I'm actually very interested to see how Greyhound and Hellraiser is gonna perform, because you know how Greyhound is. Like Greyhound, you never know with them, and Hellraiser feels like the same there, especially since they use this, bending the rule a little bit, so they can actually play the qualifier.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard so much about Hellraisers in a long time. Greyhound we practiced against today, and I know they're still boot camping. I mean, they've been here since the minor, whatever. And they're doing like the same what Renegades did, I believe, like if they're gonna go the whole way. So you never know if a team like that will, become even more crazy and whatnot. And of course, Complex is a team I'm very interested in see Obo play again. Haven't heard so much about him since the Face It one, so that's very cool and interesting to see, But I hope for love of the God that I'm not gonna have like that much correct, because I want to see good games and I want to see tight games and I want to see, everyone fighting for their life.
All right, but
because I've been there, so it sucks to be there.
Because we got this runtime.gg with the HLTV.org fucking fantasy going on after we finish the pick'ems, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where people can win prizes. They can also use the code GTR20 for a 20% discount and all this stuff. We're gonna get to that next. That's our next thing. But let's just say someone had a gun to your head and you had to pick a team 3 and you had to pick a team 0-3 right now. You can move your other pieces around if you want. That's fine. But who would you be locking in?
Seaman as 03 team. Seaman Gaming.
Simon? Yeah, okay, yep. All right, whack them in. That's who I put as well in mine.
Yeah, them or Dream Eaters has to be like a pretty safe choice, honestly. They are so inexperienced at the national level.
Yeah. I don't think I even have to mention the name, which I see as 3-0, right?
Mouse Sports, I would say.
Yeah.
So Mouse Sports play 4s in their opening game, which I think is a best of ones can be really interesting because XC Power and stuff is like as an X factor to deal with early. Like if he gets away with his shit for the first 6 rounds of the game, they're probably in trouble. So
at the same time, I feel like for somebody like Kerrigan and for that team, to know that you're playing 4s first, like they're going to be able to prepare and they're going to know what they're going to be up against. This is not like one of those situations where they would have to play them in the second round, which is played on the same day. So you don't really have that much time to, look through demos and stuff like that. So I feel like given that they know this like a week in advance or something like that, they will be prepared for this. So I don't think there's an insane amount of upset potential there. There is some, sure, I can see that, but I still feel like Mouseport should be pretty well ahead.
Okay. So Get Right's going with Mousesport's going 3-0, Simon Gaming 0-3. That's with a gun to his head, by the way. And then 4's Vitality, G2, North, Furia, NRG, and Avangar. So the only team here that I think most people... Well, there's a couple of names, I guess, right? There might be a bit of discussion around Complexity, Hellraisers, and, of course, Crazy. I think the rest of them, you feel pretty safe they won't make that top 8, right?
Yeah. Something like that. But, I don't know. I feel very disappointed with my pick. Or picks, or whatever like that. But in the same time, I guess I have to still reconsider it or like consider it that I did it before I even knew the matchups.
Sure.
So
yeah,
maybe I'll get a more understanding before the group stage starts of the teams. Because I actually have the luxury to play against a lot of them. But I can at least say out like this. Then I haven't played Mousesports. Oh wait, we can actually go from the top there. I haven't played Complexity, Hellraisers. I played Avangar today. I haven't played GT in a long time. Vitality the same. Greyhound we played today as well. Mousesports haven't played against. Force today. Or Force. Energy haven't played against either. Tyler the same. Furia the same. Chris the same. Seaman the same.
Well, you've played against Furia though in tournaments, right? Like,
yeah, of course. I have experience regarding that, but you always get at least a little bit more understanding when you haven't practiced against those teams,
Sure.
So this is kind of like a more blind pick, like that, because at least I have the luxury to play against those teams, than, for example, you guys. So then you will probably change your opinion if you played against a team. Let's say you were playing against Ints and you were seeing KNG going nuts every fucking game. You were like 100% they go through, But then it comes to the the game day, he's not really performing to what he did in practice,
So do practice results matter?
No, never.
But so just with what you said though, like feeling a team out in practice, and if somebody's looking good, the way that you would weight that is if individually they're looking good, or if they're looking good as a team. Because like if they're playing good in practice, you think like momentum players like KNG carry that through the tournament?
I mean, I would always consider it more like regarding the team than instead of a specific player.
Okay.
Because you never know if, let's say, I take myself as example now. Let's say I'm playing really well 2 weeks before the tournament, like whatever tournament it is and so on. But then on just this first game day that I'm playing, then my stomach disease kicks in, you know. I know for sure it's gonna make me play worse directly because it's gonna be, you know, way more painful for me to even try to perform to the same level I've been doing for the last 2 weeks. You never know because it's humans we're talking about. You know, things can change during, you know, maybe the pressure comes up. Now let's take Obo for example. He's young, he's his first major, you know, maybe he's getting me really nervous, you know, or maybe he's super cool, you know, you never know about those factors. So anything can happen, you know. So, and especially this is the major qualifier or group stage or whatever, you know, everything's on the line, you know, it's on the line. It's so exciting to play, and not to play, to watch more. I hate to play it because I've been there. It's a bloodbath, but it's just very exciting to see the games and see who's gonna perform and whatnot. You know, like, or not perform because I don't want to blame anyone or talk bad about anyone, but more, you know, see who's gonna fit in to actually qualify for the stage that we are in, for example.
Sure. And that's where all the business goes down when we get to the legend stage. I have one question for you before we get into this fantasy stuff. This is one thing that really, really I think about all the time recently. It's with all these prodigies coming out, with all these kids who are like fantastic at the game at a very young age, right? You were very good at the game at a very young age, but the game has changed a lot since you've been playing it, right? Yeah. For me, I try and process it, and I think like all the puzzle solving of Counter-Strike that we did over the last 10, 15 years, the kids today they get to jump straight in. They don't have to do the same levels of learning, right? They get more of a direct path. Yeah. So, but that doesn't explain why they're able to understand the situation. Well, maybe it does. What is it that you think is making these youngsters today? Why are there not so many of them, but why do you think they're able to be as good as they are at such a young age?
Because they have all the right tools. Because when I started playing and you and whatnot, you know, we didn't have YouTube, we didn't have streams, we didn't have, you know, those cool maps that you can train your reaction, aim maps. I mean, we had aim maps, but they were really bad, you know. But you weren't really focusing on, you know, one tapping or spraying a long distance and whatnot. You know, like there was another different mindset when you were training or whatnot. I mean, when I played in 1.6, and this is something I tried with, for example, learning the spray technique in 1.6, it was very difficult. So I only played a map. I never remember the name of it, but it was like a long hall when you literally can just see the terrorists, the bots though, of course, just spawn. And then you were literally, the only thing I did maybe for 1 hour every day then was sitting and spraying in a very long distance to train that up. And I think I know a lot of my friends who use the same map and whatnot, they never used that technique. They always went for tapping and whatnot. But for me, I had another different mindset to actually try it out, you know. But, you know, that's what I did, you know, but it was, I think it's just, there's so much more things today than it weren't back then. So I believe that's why it's so much easier for the youngsters, or how to say, to learn more and become better faster and whatnot, because all the tools are out there. Like downloading a demo from HLTV back in the days took like 1 hour because of the slow internet connection. And the demos back then, you couldn't even go back in the demos. And now you have programs where you can go back and forth and actually look up what's happening or whatnot, you know, like you can get a more better understanding of the game than you did then, you know. So sure. I think there's so many more like other factors actually to consider in. That's why they're so much better than maybe someone were at their age during when I was young, you know.
So do you think, like I'm 30 now, for example, and I'll just use myself as the example here now. For everybody watching, I have absolutely no desire to try and play professional Counter-Strike again, as it will be terrible. But do you think, right, that because of all those things you're talking about, that people who are older can do those same things, or do you think that it's younger people are able to absorb that information a lot quicker, and people who've been playing for a long time have all those preconceived things from older versions of the game they can't look over. Like obviously wall spamming in 1.6 is an example, or like the way you could move in Source. Do you think people who were professionals or played a lot of those games can't move past those things?
I mean, I'm an old dog. You know, I have a lot of issues in the game that I can't change because I'm used to different things in the game. I can't give you an example, for example, but at least on top of my head. But I mean, the best one is probably why am I spraying all the time, you know? Because it's just stuck with me, you know, the whole freaking time. So I'm just so used to it, you know? And it takes a much more longer time for me to remove that habit, you know, than it is for someone that's like 16 and goes into the game and seeing someone that like Scream when he was in prime time going around and, you know, one-tapping people and whatnot, you know? So, I don't know. To be honest, I don't know. It's just like, I think it's going to take a longer time for someone that's much more older, because the learning curve is in general, when you were a kid, it's much more easier for you to learn other languages and whatnot instead of someone is like 10 years older than you know? Yeah. So I think it's the same thing there in, you know, in life, you know,